Hi, I'm going to teach you how to make an Ares template of his helmet from the Wonder Woman movie that was just released. First, you're going to need a mannequin head, or at least something that's in the size of your head. I know that at Hobby Lobby they sell mannequin heads that are made of foam, but I went ahead and purchased a plastic one on Amazon for about $30 and super worth it. If you guys can, get one. Second, you're going to need cellophane, something to wrap around the head so that way it doesn't mess it up. You're going to need duct tape that's going to help you create the template first, and some type of tool to cut the duct tape and everything off of the mannequin head. So what if you don't have cellophane? Paper bag, plastic bag works just as good. All you need to do is use a spray adhesive or something on the helmet or on the headpiece, if anything, maybe even water, so that way it'll adhere to the head better, as you can see, or you could just suffocate it, just, try to kill it. The other thing I forgot to say, poster board will also work in helping for the template, and also you're going to need foam. This foam I picked up from Harbor Freight pretty cheap. So let's get started. Now some dexter action. First, you want to make sure that you get the cellophane around the mannequin head. Make sure you wrap it good and tight. So that way the duct tape doesn't move around or wiggle. Second, you want to make sure that you get the top of the head and the bottom of the chin, making sure that the cellophane doesn't really move around too much. And then when you're done, just rip it off and you're ready to start duct taping. So you want your first strip of duct tape to cover from the front of the chin all the way to the base of the back of the head. The reason why you want it to be as straight line as you can is because you don't want any creases from the nose bridge or the lip area. You want it to be very straight because we're making almost like a full face mask also with it. So just try to make it as straight as you can. After you're confident in your duct tape, you're going to get your Sharpie and we're going to draw the middle line down the center of the skull and the center of the face. Try to go a little bit over into the undone side so that way you have a little bit of leadway and the size of the helmet's going to be a little bit big. So that way it fits a little bit better. Yeah, just draw the center line as best as you can. I got my center line all done as best as I can, all the way down the center, all the way to the back of the base of the skull. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, for some people, I'm not really used to it myself. I don't really like to use them too much, but I'm going to go ahead and mark some registration lines just to show you that this would be the time to do it. Do you remember earlier we talked about needing poster board? Well, this is the time to use it. After you build a duct tape version of your face mask, you want to go ahead and start using it to create accents so you don't have to freehand later during the template work. Just like this. After you're done putting poster boards to your duct tape and shaping the helmet the way you want, kind of loosely draw the front of the mask the way you want it to look so that way you get an idea. Then you're going to start working on the crown line. The crown line is the second cut that relieves the doming of the helmet. This is a pretty hard part to draw in, but the best way to understand it is you want to go from the tip of the eyebrow and then you want to take that measurement from the tip all the way straight line to the back of the skull. It'll kind of make the size of a mullet or like a really wide mohawk, which is what you want. That'll help with the crowning section of the skull and it'll help with that doming. After all your lines are set up and you're good to go, now it's time to cut. First, you want to start with that center line that we drew on earlier. You want to follow it as best as you can and try to have a very steady hand because you want to keep that line as straight as you possibly can because later when you apply it to paper, you want to be able to put a good clean line on it. After you're done cutting your center line, you're going to start to notice that you have a lot of cellophane strips and pieces like dangling off or staying in the middle of the center line. You want to try to relieve this by cutting a lot of this section out. You want to try to get as close to the duct tape as you can. The base duct tape, not just any piece of duct tape. You want to get as close to the center line and just clean up the line work. I use big scissors because big scissors help me keep a straight line, a long straight line. So when I apply it to paper later, my line work is going to be a lot easier to play with and work with, more symmetrical, if you say. Try to cut on the inside. If you see on the inside of the mask, you have this big flaps and stuff. You want to just cut it right out of there. Try to get it as flat as you can. After I got my rough template cleaned up with all the cellophane pieces, I like to bring my mannequin head back, apply the half part back, and start to line up the eyes better and really clean up the face mask opening where the eye sockets would be and stuff. I really like to clean it up since I have a better view of the face of the mannequin. Clean up the lines and prepare for the cutting. And after I go ahead and draw the lines, I start to cut my pieces out. Take your time on this part. Really, like, be patient. Don't rush. You want to follow the lines as best as you can to the way you drew it, so that way you get the best results at the end. Uh, Either way, you're going to be using this as both side templates. On this part, you could see I saw that the centerpiece right at the forehead was very flimsy, it was very loose. So I decided to use a small strip of duct tape to strengthen the tip of that forehead part. So when I draw it on later, it won't move around a lot. I'm going to get a better drawing in the template. After you feel pretty good with the face side of the helmet, you're going to start cutting the dome line. Earlier we talked about the importance of the dome line. Make sure you cut in the center of the line that you drew. Don't cut on the inside or the outside. Cut right on that line and follow the line as best as you can. It's very important. And go all the way to the tip of the eyebrow. Good. Now we got two pieces of our helmet: the top of the dome line and the mullet line, which is the top. Try to flatten this out as best as you can because we're going to be applying this to our poster board in a bit to make our template. So after you have your two pieces, you want to go ahead and put one of them, whichever one first, on a poster board. What I use pins to hold the design down, and then I put a piece of foam under so that the pins can hold on to something. After I pin and draw an outline, what I like to do is I like to remove the template and I like to go over the remaining template on the poster board with a Sharpie and really make the lines visible more and clean up any mistakes that I made while trying to trace over that outline. So after you're done drawing and putting your design on poster boards, you go ahead and cut them out. You should have some really nice design work. You can add your registration lines and try to line up your registration lines as best as you can. On this part, I left a little bit of leadway on the front mask part because I thought if I had more of the flap, it will help me shape it a little bit better and get a better design later. Give me a little leadway. So just like earlier, put your template on foam now, pin it down, and let's get ready to draw an outline. Remember to do your registration keys just in case you need them. I'm not really going to use them too much, but they're there. Okay, so to cheat the registration lines on the Mohawk, what I like to do is I like to line up the opposite part of the template with the tip in the front and leave the width of the marker in the middle. And then I make sure that the tips line up really well, and then I mark it, and then I don't have to really worry too much about um, the registration lines or anything like that. I just got to make sure that I have the center pretty clean, so that way I apply the glue and it closes the gapping very well in the lines. Got it all cut out. Now what you can do is once I take this all apart, you're going to see my V mullet, and the tip is going to be intact. So here we go. It makes a nice V shape. Just make sure that anything in the middle stays as flat as you can, so just cut it as best as you can. Clean up the inside lining. Then get your barge cement or your trusty rubber cement and go ahead and lather it up and get to work. And then let it dry up and then tack it together. Okay, so after we've allowed the glue to dry up, you got to get it to like a really dry, tacky feeling. When you touch the glue line, It shouldn't leave little noodles or stretchy parts like rubber. It should not even stick to your finger. What I'm doing here is I leave the soft part facing me and I connect the two pieces of lines with the interior facing the other way. Now you're going to get these little gap lines and that's fine. Later on you can fill it with quick seal or you can sand them down. There's really great videos from like Evil Ted and Punish Props that kind of show you how to fill the seam line and to hide it as best as you can. But right here what you want to do is you want to kind of like line these up, these two pieces, and get them as flat as possible, like if there was never a cut to begin with. Take your time, get a little bit of pressure and push, and just line them up as best as you can. Now once you kind of get everything together, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pressure it in as much as you can, and then slowly invert it back to the soft being on the outside and the rigid part being on the inside. This will apply a good amount of pressure on that line and let the glue settle a lot better and really push all the air out in between those. So I went ahead and put all my template pieces together. I like the end process. I like the whole way it came out. It looks pretty good. I know the flaps in the front, the jaw, mouth area looks kind of long, but I think it'll pay off when I apply the heat gun and I mold it and I pressure it inside. Um, I want to kind of make the tip a little bit sharper, but for a template piece, for just a regular build without having a template or a design for it, I think it came out pretty good. And it kind of reminds me of a Spartan helmet, like a Spartan 300. So maybe if you want, you could probably find a template for that and just elongate the front cheek areas. Let's see how it came out. And here we go. Here's the finished product. I applied some heat to it. I shaped the chin, and I do like the length. If you like this template, email me if you would like it, and I'll send you a copy of it. And like the video, subscribe if you want, and send me a comment or give me some advice. Thank you guys.